Hi, I'm the Moorlander and this is Moorlander EDC. Today outdoors having a look at another pair of boots from an American company called Belleville. Now Belleville have been making military boots for a long time, and having started making some content on these style boots and reading the comments about US servicemen and women that have worn these in the past, I'm certainly starting to understand exactly why these garner so much respect. So the boots that we're here today have, so the serial number for these are the, I'm going to have to read it from here, so these are the C793, which are their waterproof assault flight boots. As far as certification is concerned, now I'm not of the US military, so I'm just going to have to read a couple of things from here in the respect. So these are made in the USA and they are also berry compliant. I guess that will mean something to certain people. And as far as the compliance is concerned, that works for both the US Army and both the US Air Force. I nearly said RAF then for a second, but you know what I mean. Now, as far as my history with these boots, full disclosure, these were sent to me from Belleville. I do want to say a huge thank you to them. I've had these now for about 6 months, and that's what that's meant is, luckily, that I've been able to test these through the winter, through the autumn, and through the summer as well. And I will say, as far as testing these is concerned, they have been very easy and simple to test. As far as the wear-in period for these though, I think that's why it's probably took me a little bit longer to make some content on these, as they have took a little bit longer to wear in over some other boots that I've had in the past. Now that's more of an observation, that's not necessarily a good thing or a bad thing. Hopefully you'll all agree you can have 5 pairs of boots that are all amazing pairs of boots, but they all individually have their own break-in period. You might be very lucky to have a pair of boots that it just takes you a couple of weeks to wear them in. After that, it's just like putting on an old pair of boots. Whereas some others, like I've found with these, they've just took longer to wear in. Now we will go into the actual boots themselves. Before I start though, as I usually do, so here in the UK I'm a UK size 9, in Europe that is a European size 43, in the US that is a US size 10. They sent these to me as a UK 9, US 10, European size 43, and I'm happy to say that they fit me absolutely perfectly. As with any military style boot, as I'm sure everyone will agree, having spent some time in the military, sock choice is just as important. So when I'm wearing these, I wear things like Darn Tough, I wear Danish Endurance, and I also have some Kraghopper socks that I wear with these, and again wearing them through the winter, wearing them through the autumn, and wearing them in the summer as it is now, certainly no issues with these whatsoever. Just as an extra point, if you have hobbit's feet like myself, I have got these in the wide. They do them in a regular fit, but if you have a wider foot you can get these in the wide as well, which certainly helps. For me, the toe box on here is just right. Now I mentioned that first bit about wearing these in. I did find, bizarrely, with the right foot, the one that I have in my hand here, when I got this, the toe box just felt narrow. No, narrow is the wrong word, because the width of the toe box was absolutely perfect. It was this bit from where the footbed is up to where kind of the top of the boot here. That's one of the things that took me a while just to stretch the leather on this, and it was bizarre because it was only the right foot. Now it didn't take long, I'd say maybe a month or so just walking with this, and that's not because it took a month to do that. That's because you have to go out and walk. I don't walk in these every single day. One of the things that did help as well though, and I say this about a lot of boots if you want to fast forward wearing them in the morning, if you know you're going out or you're going to be spending some time with them, before you leave the house, absolutely soak these. Soak the outside of them, soak the leather. Warm water is better, not like boiling hot water, but just warm water. And what that does, that loosens up the leather. So when you're out walking in these, they stretch. When they then start to dry, then the leather will stay in the same position. So over the last, well, like I say, maybe took maybe a month, and that was say 2 or 3 times out walking, and then there was a day where I've worn these at home full, completely through the day. I soaked these, put them on them all day. Mrs. Moorlander gave me some weird looks again, but the distance here has lifted, and both of these feel perfect now when I've got my feet in them. Now, getting into some of the actual boot itself, the vast majority of the leather on this is made from genuine cowhide. It is a strong, tough leather. The one thing that I kind of assumed before getting these and putting these on is that the area in which that would probably take more time to wear in would be this area around the ankle here. I'm happy to say this took less time than I was expecting, mainly because there's a couple of different types of materials through here that they've used in certain patterns to make sure that you get as much, one, support, but also flexibility through the ankle. So hopefully, again, you'll be able to see all the way through here. You have this leather through here, but then there is also these nylon panels. Now, the nylon on here is a ballistic style nylon. Think of Cordura. I don't think it's genuine Cordura, mainly because they would have put on the website that it's made from Cordura, but it's a Cordura-esque ballistic nylon. But what that does is allows for plenty of flex through here, through the heel, through the back of the leg here, and then here through the side as well. If you're out, you need to be able to take a knee, you need to be able to squat down with these, then that kind of the flexibility through the ankle is there. With these having that 8-inch lift, that 8-inch rise on here though, if you're concerned about support through the ankle, you certainly don't need to concern yourself with that whatsoever, because when you have these on, there's plenty of support through the ankle and the lower leg to make sure that if you're walking through kind of rocky areas where there's a chance of being able to twist your ankle, yeah, they definitely give you the support that you need for these. I did a few walks with these. Hopefully you'll be able to see on the footage here. This was quite a rocky, hilly area, and yeah, no issues whatsoever. Now, one of the other things that I will say is, and I hope I get this terminology correct, the area that your heel sits into, this was another area that for me took a little bit longer to wear in than some other boots. So whilst I was doing that walk, I was walking up quite a severe incline. I don't think I got the boots tied just right, and I think I'm pretty sure I hadn't got them tied just right, mainly because in this area where you want to make sure that your heel is firmly pushed into there so that it's not moving within the boot, I found that it did move. Now, that was when I first started to wear these in. I was getting some movement up and down here in the heel. What I found out is that when you first go for a walk and you tie your laces, you pull them nice and tight, that what would happen is, because they were new and the leather was starting to kind of move, that after a while my heel would allow it to lift. While I was walking with these, I did get a pretty bad blister. Now, that was at the start, when I was trying to put in some long distance with these, and I will add that was walking up a very steep incline, which really forced my heel to come out. But what I did was I got to the top, readjusted my laces, my foot was already in there, readjusted the laces, made sure that they were cinching just right, put them back, and just carried on walking again and had no issues after that. Now, that was the only instance whilst wearing these in that I've had any sort of wear on my foot. Every other instance where I've been trying to wear these in, no issues whatsoever. That's that little bit that I would say the toe area took more wearing in than I thought, and this heel did. After that though, I can put these on very quickly. Now, as far as the lacing system is concerned, so you have kind of eyelets here at the bottom, but then as you're getting up through here, so you have 3 fast laced. The way that I do mine is I tie a knot in the end here, so I don't have to keep relacing them through here. Pull them on, pull them tight, which will get it tight around your ankle first. Pull these up, and then re-pull these again, and then you can make sure that they're good and fast around your foot. What I will say is, one of the ways that I've got all-day comfort out of these is the fact that The way that the lacing system works on these, it comes down closer to your toes than you'll find that you get with a lot of other boots. That makes sure that wherever you have this around you, you can make sure, so if you want a little bit more room around your toes, you can have them loosen here, pull them a little bit tighter around the kind of that bridge there, pull them tight here, you've got your ankle in. Having the laces, they're very similar, I kind of use the reference of climbing shoes. If anyone's used climbing shoes, with those the laces come down pretty much all the way to where your toes separate from your foot. So they're very similar to that in the way that these laces come forward. Lacing them up, very simple, very easy. A fast laced system like this, they're not particularly difficult to get on and off. The tongue on here is a fully gusseted tongue. Hopefully you can see that there. The tongue comes all the way up, so these are an 8-inch boot. There you have the top eyelet, or that top speed lace one here, and the tongue comes all the way up to there. These are fully waterproof. They have a, damn it, the word's just come out of my mind. What is it? It's Gore-Tex. So I forgot the word then for a second. So they have a Gore-Tex liner in here to make sure that your foot stays nice and dry. What I will also say is, so last weekend was a bizarre weekend, mainly because, one, it was absolutely thraping it down. I was out doing some airsoft, we were skirmishing all day, and it was that weird summer mix of, it was incredibly hot and humid, but it was also raining all day. No issues whatsoever. Running through bracken like this, running through reasonably tall grass that was absolutely sodden, walking through puddles, boots stayed nice and dry, but because of the Gore-Tex that's in here and then the natural fibre of the leather on the outside here as well, I wasn't overly sweaty feet. I didn't need to like get to lunch and then change my socks. I was quite glad actually, because I just wore the same socks all day, and yeah, really good. I also done, so while I was out walking as well, I found somewhere where there was a ford crossing. The water came up roughly to the top of my boot here, and again, absolutely no issues whatsoever. Now, as far as cleaning these is concerned, I certainly haven't had any issues. I don't know what sort of coating they have on here, considering the amount of water and dirt that I've had on these. They still, if I was to pour some water on here, you'd see that it just collects and beads, so that's very good, but what it also means is that cleaning these is reasonably easy as well. So last weekend, having spent about 6.5 hours in mud and dirt and stuff, generally I'll bring them home, I'll put them in a warmer room. Once they're reasonably dry, I'll then get a heavy brush and brush off the thick mud. But then once I know that they're completely dry, I'll then get a lighter brush, brush off the rest, and then you can get the rest of it in between the fibres of the leather, and they clean up really nice. Now, as I mentioned, I got a lot of all-day comfort from these. There was about 6.5, not including kind of lunch time, 6.5 hours on here, and they were great. I think we put in 20,000 footsteps just in one day. As far as the footbed on this is concerned, so the midsole on this is a polyurethane midsole. It does a very good job of cushioning your foot, but it's also thin enough that you can get you can get more feedback from the ground beneath you than you can do from some of those really thick ones. I think with these being that flight compliant, and I'm sure it said something about on the Belleville website about one of the reasons that they did that is they wanted to make sure that if you were flying with these that you could also feel the pedals beneath your feet, and I think that's a lot where the ankle articulation comes in with these too. But yeah, it's really good for that. On the bottom you have a genuine Vibram's Ibex bottom, or Vibram Ibex sole on here. Whether I was walking on grass, we don't really have a lot of sand here in the moorlands, but we have a lot of gritstone, which you get kind of piles of sand around them, no issues there. On the gritstone, these things, it's like Spider-Man. You just can't slip on them at all. That water crossing in the ford where the stone was reasonably smooth. Again, no issues. Running through the mud, I do like the fact that the grips on the bottom of these are really reasonably wide and thick lugs. It's no kind of Panama style lug on there, but it does a very good job of, if you get the mud caked on there as you're walking and it flexes, it helps to release the mud from there as well. And again, no issues with that whatsoever. On the front of the sole passes up through onto the toe box, so this rand here on the front helps you to grip, and they've got some lugs on here, so if you're trying to step up onto something, or maybe you're trying to get up an incline, then you can use that here as well. There is also additional support here on the back as well, again, so if you're coming down from something and your foot slips because of wrong foot placement, then it should also give you some extra protection here, hopefully to help you to get some traction, and if not, it will help to protect the leather here on the back. Through the middle of the sole here as well, you have these additional lugs, so if you need to do some rope work, if you're climbing with that sort of stuff, it's good. There is, I know heels were first put on there for like horse riding and that sort of stuff, but there is a slight step between the middle of this sole and where the heel is as well. Again, if you need to climb in and out of vehicles, to make sure that you've got a good solid lock on there as well. I'm sure that was put in there for pilots climbing in and out of planes, so that they could make sure that their foot's locked into position while they're climbing in and out. I don't get to use that feature, but it's kind of cool that it's there. I certainly haven't had any issues with my foot placement with these whatsoever. I think that definitely helps because I've got these ridiculously wide, stupid hobbit's feet. But yeah, no issues with these whatsoever. Now, I want to say, all in all, how many pairs of Belleville boots have I tried now? I think this is the fourth pair. It is the fourth pair. Biggest takeaways are, one is all-day comfort. Having these on whilst walking has been great. When I've been doing some airsoft, when I've been doing some skirmishing with these, they've just been brilliant. I've not had to worry about getting them wet. When they have got wet, I just didn't have to worry about it whatsoever. Through the different terrains where we go airsofting, there's indoor areas, there's outdoor areas, being able to transition between those, coming from the thick mud onto kind of plasticky, slippy floors that are always wet. No issues, moving with a purpose and being able to put my foot down with the confidence that I'm not going to slip. I will say though that of the 4 pairs that I've tested or I've had the joy of being able to wear, these definitely took longer to break in. My dad would refer to these, and I mean this with the greatest and utmost respect, this is a shit kicker type of boot. If you want to get shit done and you want to make sure that you've got a tough, reliable boot to put on, this is the kind of boot that my dad, I think my granddad used to call it, and that's probably why my dad used to call them, but hopefully that makes sense. This is the type of boot that you put on when you want to get shit done, and this is why he refers to it as shit kicker. If Belleville are watching, it's a British thing. I'm sure the US have a similar kind of boot and a similar fond name that you refer to your boots as well. But because of that shit kicker nature of these, they did take an extra little bit longer to wear in. Now that they're wore in, no issues with these whatsoever. I know that I could go and do a 20-mile walk and, yeah, no issues. So cool. Now, I do want to say a huge thank you again to Belleville for sending these to me. I believe Belleville now has a distributor here in the UK where you can purchase these from. So I'll check my email from them, which is, I'll have to check that because I can't remember what it is right now, but I'll leave a link below. And if it is that they haven't got them yet, I'll leave a link to their website anyway, and then you can keep checking them, and hopefully they'll be there soon. So yes, a huge thank you to Belleville for sending sending these to me. I certainly look forward to testing more boots out in the future. I will leave some of my social media links below so that you can see more from me here on Moorlander EDC, and also my sister channel Moorlander Tactical, where we look at more kind of everyday tactical kind of stuff. And whether you're watching this on YouTube or Rumble, as always, stay safe, stay Moorlander, and stay EDC. Boots, which are the waterproof flight assault. Damn it, for fuck's sake. It's too much to remember, too much to remember. Waterproof assault flight boots. Polyurethane Shockmaster Vibram Ibex. Now, as far as cleaning is, these it's such a weird day today. It was absolutely pissing it down this morning, and now I'm stood here sweating my nuts off. If you come through to the bloopers, there's one thing that I forgot to mention, and that's the insole. The insole's really nice, but it's one of those that you can remove if you're like, oh, I live by these insoles. Then that's fine. You can take these out and you can put some other insoles in. Yeah, there you go. I think this is coming out on Wednesday. Wednesday, Odin's Day. Anyway, yeah. So I hope you're all having a good week, and I will see you all soon. I'm at this point where I'm just staring at the camera waiting because I need to put my little outro logo on there. Anyway, cool. See you in a bit.